Two-person crew on a mission to Mars faces an impossible choice when an unplanned passenger jeopardizes the lives of everyone aboard.
I kind of like the look of this one. I kind of like the look of it. I liked the window.
With the show the spinning.
What I thought was funny is they must have wanted a like one of those pop out windows that people have on their house, like a bay window,
skylight or something.
I mean, how many?
Oh, bay window. Yeah, I see
how
what you're
many
saying.
shoots? Yeah, how many ships do you know that? Oh yeah, no. This is a special one because honey, this has got the bay window. This has got the bay window for miles, and when
with
I
the
say
bench
miles,
in front of the
I
window,
mean millions
so you can read.
Of miles.
You can read by Earthlight.
Yes. Exactly what it was, and it's like that window became such a.
The doctor even said, "This is my favorite spot."
Yes, exactly. And obviously it was the camera's favorite spot too.
Yes. Yep.
And it seemed like the whole show kind of like could have been shot in and out of that window pretty much.
This could have been shot in my living room, really.
It really could. It's a very tight show. I actually saw it a couple of days ago, and I guess that the strongest indictment for the show is that it was incredibly hard to remember anything that went on, even as the credits were rolling. I had a hard time remembering what the show was about. I don't know. It's not a good thing. It was just boring.
Oh no, actually, I said blah, B-L-A-H. I've described this in a 4-letter word, blah. It's a nowhere movie. I just don't believe anything like that happens that is reality.
You know what? I just don't. That's exactly what it was. I don't believe it. I don't know if you ever saw a film called Marooned back in the day.
I don't think so.
But it had a plot point where they had to send the professor from Gilligan's Island. He was one of the four
Marooned.
One of the four crew members on this space, and they were obviously running out of air, and boy, I gotta tell you something, man. That guy peeled some See, he peeled him some scenery. I'm surprised that when he died, that half of the scenery didn't die with him. I mean, he was peeling scenery as he went. Because they had to just push him out into space. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die for my compressor. I'm dying for the compressor. I'm dying for everybody. I'm dying.
Wow. And then he floats away. That was pretty good.
Yeah, so that was Maroon.
Well, this was doomed from the start.
And I'm talking about Maroon because honestly, this thing I could hardly even remember. Hardly even remember the second half when I was done with the first half. I could hardly remember the first half.
Well, this the NASA, whatever they were.
Yeah,
they didn't plan properly. They didn't bring enough oxygen. They didn't have anybody that knew what the fuck they were doing.
No, it wasn't that. Is that they had a stowaway, and the stowaway was making the oxygen. Which, if they're calculating,
but why wouldn't they put more oxygen in just in case? Like, let's put some extra in there, or maybe some equipment to fix things with. Like, hey, this thing's broken. Let's look at the spare parts room.
And then they kept
the drawer.
They kept trying to get the Moss to Moss.
Yes.
Wasn't
that algae?
Moss. No Moss. No Moss. No Moss. No.
I thought it was green algae, wasn't it? Floating in water.
All right, it was green algae, but I.
So, well, I don't want to give you spoilers necessarily, but the person that was sacrificed was the one they should have kept, really, because you need one of those on board all the time. But the guy who screwed things up related to algae
Right.
He could have gone away. Who cares about him?
Yeah, it's funny. There was a certain descending order of it was like this. It was like they kept discussing who was going to have to, sacrifice themselves. And to me, it was in the descending order of who should have sacrificed themselves.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
No.
Well, the stowaway was a mechanic, so he seemed pretty useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
The captain seemed pretty useless to me, actually. Even with her Australian accent. Have you noticed that Toni Collette, I was noticing this about her, when she does American acting, she's like, she has that puke face.
Yeah, right.
But when she does her normal accent, she doesn't. It's weird.
Well, no, when she does her normal accent, she's literally all teeth. All teeth, all the time.
Yeah. Well, so if I was
I'm Toni Collette.
So if I went to act in a British movie, I'd be like this all the time. Because that's how she was in that movie, the Christmas one. I can't remember what it was. When she shows her fear face, it's always like, I'm going to throw up any second.
The one where her kid hits the post?
Oh, Krampus. I was thinking about Krampus.
Oh, Krampus. Oh, Krampus. Yes, yeah.
Not to be too random there, but anyway. Oh. No, but she was the most useless one, I think. And she was obviously that's kind of how things work. It's usually a decision maker is like the most useless person ever. Like if you look at any corporate world.
Hey, I'm a leader.
Exactly.
Am I the one that you want to get rid of?
No, but I mean, if we looked at a film crew and they looked at who's the most expendable, I don't know how that would shake out.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on. Of course, that I have a theory about this, right?
What's that?
This is the way that when the AC keeps getting soft focus, right? You know what's the first thing you do? You fire the caterer.
Yes.
You fire the caterer, and you see that puts everybody on alert. Here's the thing: the first move is to fire the caterer because that puts everybody on alert, and the caterer is entirely expendable, and it doesn't affect anything from one day to the next.
Well, unless you're talking about coffee, I mean, coffee's really important.
Right,
but nowadays you have Starbucks, so it's not a big deal.
Now, I'm just saying, there's always caterers somewhere, and catering is film.
They could be replaced. Yes.
Film adjacent. It's important. It's important, but it's still film adjacent, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's like there are a couple things that are film adjacent that, you really wanna worry about them. It's like, hey, are the guys going to take the trash out? Well, yeah, we got other snakes to fry. Anyway, next.
Well, so if I'm ever on a film set and they're trying to figure out who to get rid of, I'm going to look busy. I'm just going to be like, oh, I got things to do.
Well, yeah, the thing is there was always this union thing. Certain people on the crew that if you wanted them to be around, or if you made it like a horrible labor mistake, you'd send them into the perms.
Okay.
Going up.
Gotcha.
We'll call you. So there was always like lots of places up there to hang out, little places, up in the chairs, and you could go hang out. And,
well, that sounds terrible. You get paid to hang out,
smoke a bowl, and drink a little this and a little that, and wait for it to cool off down below. It's like Nightmare on Elm Street 3, man. I mean, we didn't have perms or anything. We were shooting in a warehouse in the middle of nowhere. By the way, let me just say what a perm is.
It's not a hairstyle.
It's not a hairstyle, or let's just say it isn't much of a hairstyle, because what it would be a whole bunch of wooden catwalks.
Right. Yeah.
Up in which I'm not saying that this wouldn't make a great hairstyle. It's a bunch of catwalks that are across the top of a stage, and usually they are 30 feet or more above the ground, and there are places that no boss has ever gone. So they back in the old days they used to send notes up to send the crews back down, with pulleys.
With pulleys, really?
Oh, seriously, I'm just this is the way.
Did they send one down? Send more beer?
Yeah, send more beer.
Well, that would be. I want to see this hairstyle now.
Well, there were some amazing views that you could see from the perms. I have to tell you, one of the ones that really blew me away was the mini sets that were set up for what was the name of it? That Michael Jackson, the history of the world, Michael Jackson
history, yeah,
video, yeah, and the one was done by John Singleton. It was like 20 minutes long, and
Thriller.
No, it's John Singleton.
Oh, John Singleton. Okay.
It was a little bit later on, and it's.
Well, they all were 20 minutes long. I mean, I'm thinking like Moonwalker
yeah, but they were such huge productions, and I mean, this one was on the biggest stage on Universal, and I mean, with a 40-foot grip and with a 40-foot grid, and so you had to send ropes down from the perms to support the top of all the sets, right? Or to hang anything in like a header or anything like that was hung, and you had to have safety lines and lights had to be down below. So there was a second grid that was hung down from the perm grid because that 40 feet wasn't being used, and so if you climbed up the stairways to get to the top of the perms, to tie things off, you passed that one area where you could look out all the way from the side. You could look out all the way down like 120 feet or so and see every rope that was intersecting between down below
Wow.
and up below. And it's like you're seeing, probably a good 20 feet of rope, right? But you're seeing them all intersect each other all across 100 feet, by 100 feet. And it was the most amazing thing to look at. It was absolutely mesmerizing. It was like, wow. It's one of those things that, when you're doing it and you do it one rope at a time and one beam at a time, and you run a rope and you have people like, you literally had people up in the perms all day long, tying off the other end of all of your ropes and everything, and if you do it one at a time, you even look up, all you see is you just see a couple of other ropes, but you see the rigging for this piece or the rigging for that piece. So
wow.
You never get the feeling of it because of the way the lighting is always crushing down on you, right?
And it's bright. Yes.
And so everything is outside that line, but when you get up above it and all the light levels are low enough, then you just see nothing but this sea of ropes that you put up over the days that, a crew of 100 people. I mean, there were 100 people that were, building stuff and rigging stuff on that set. And they were working for, maybe like a month. And so all these people are doing that rigging. It was just that. There's something about the way that film can concentrate something temporarily, right? It's weird to look at and realize just how much work that represents. It's like a fucking macrame on acid. You're just like, whoa! It's like you couldn't pick one rope, one idea of where anything's rigged at all. Like I say, but then you walk across the stage and you look up there and you go, well, that point's dealing with this and this and this. It's astounding, and you get these weird things, when you're working on film. I mean, they're just it's like it was like The Hidden. On The Hidden, we had to make a mannequin factory, and the mannequin factory became we were making a factory. We made a little factory to make mannequins to be blown away in the scene in the mannequin factory. And then, so we had to take mannequins and make molds of them and then make soft foam versions of all those mannequins so that we could hit them with bullets and fight amongst them. And they wouldn't, mannequins are hard.
Yeah.
So the weird thing is that over the month that it took to make those in this building, that we then eventually we just leased like the whole building. It was the one that you saw the top of, with the crazed hooker that jumps through the mannequin, the sign, right?
Yeah.
And I think the sign says. I think it says mannequins.
I think so. Yeah.
I think it did. She jumps through that. Well, the thing is that building, all the we set it up, and then we didn't have to dress it to make it look like a mannequin factory because it was a fake mannequin factory. It was already a fake mannequin factory. So we made molds that looked like mannequin molds. So it was like, that's just, I mean, literally what we did was, well, let's stop work and we'll put the mannequins where we're supposed to in order to shoot them. And we're done. We're dressed. And then we had a fire out, around the, we literally ran the Cadillac when they're in that weird colored green Cadillac.
Yeah.
Which I picked the color of that. Like I had that Cadillac, painted that.
That's
color.
Awesome.
I love that color. So when it comes in, we literally had to concrete cut that piece of the building out so we could rebuild it fake in so that the Cadillac could burst in through the window and the little stem wall into the fake factory where we had made the fake mannequins that then made that dress perfectly as a mannequin factory that then they had a gunfight in.
And that was a great scene. In fact, that shot with her flying through the sign, that was amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. And I still remember, for some reason, every time I think of that sign, the first thing I think of is her standing up at the top in that gold lame outfit, right? And they just blew. They had these huge squibs on her that just blew like huge gobs of blood. It was just like it looked like little pieces of her were just going. It was really that was a really good film. I mean, a really good film.
It was, and we had Jock Aitken on the show with us to talk about it. I was like in heaven because you guys were both talking about it. I was like. It's one of my. It's a great movie from the '80s that everybody should watch. So watch The Hidden. Don't watch the. Don't necessarily watch Stowaway.
Hey, don't watch Stowaway. What are you wasting?
I think that's the theme here.
How many hours do you really have to watch this?
Right. How many hours do you have on this planet? So use them wisely.
Only so many. Use it wisely. Watch The Hidden.
I mean, murder hornets. They just found the third nest in Washington. I gotta get out of here. Anyway.
And you are. Don't make that. Yes, you are.
I think this was just a test to see if Netflix can make a space movie again, and they failed again. So I've said this before. Netflix is very hit or miss. It's like it's either decent or it just sucks balls.
Well, yeah,
and I thought this was bad. I didn't like this at all. It was terrible.
I thought it was bad too. But you got to remember that Netflix is trying to. Netflix doesn't make these films. Netflix buys these films.
Right. Well, I mean, okay.
Indication of what's out there.
They buy them, but they also don't they fund them too? Don't they pay for the the production?
Very
of them?
rarely. I mean, maybe when they have like a puff piece like Gleam.
Okay.
Gleam was an example of where I think that they actually probably were more involved in making it because they had some a real chunk of talent in it.
Well, see, I was under the impression they had a Netflix studios where they shot certain movies.
No,
they don't always, or they just hire directors to do it.
That's not true.
Oh, see, I didn't know. I'm learning something.
Okay, well, wait a minute. So
wait, hold on.
Where where's the Gleam studio?
Wait, I'm taking notes here. So
No, no,
no, I didn't know. I really didn't know. I thought.
You know what? I got into this argument with somebody else.
Yeah.
The guys at Bonehead.
See, I'm not. Well, wait a minute. They're called Boneheads.
Called them on it. I said, you know what? You are mistaking a distributor. You're mistaking a distributor for a studio.
Well, see, I did the same thing, so I'm a bonehead.
No. And
well, okay. Let me rephrase the whole thing. Then they should have more quality control with what they buy and what they put out there, because they should do what they do best and just like re-air other people's instead of like spending money on stuff and it's ending up crappy. I don't know. I don't see any decent stuff coming from Netflix that much. I mean, compared to like
I like Gleam. I didn't like this.
Well, compared to like Hulu or Amazon Prime does pretty decent stuff. I'm like.
All of them, and you know what? All of them are doing the same thing.
And they're all kind of hit or miss, actually. Now that I say that,
and they're all hit and miss because they're all distribution. In other words, they're trying.
Well, whoever's buying from Netflix,
also they're
maybe try harder.
They're picking the stuff up incredibly cheap.
Yeah,
especially compared to what it used to be. I mean, the thing is let's face it. Nowadays, you know, when you're just talking about the crew and all the rest of that, you're making for 200,000 what cost maybe $5 million in the 80s.
Yeah.
So, and you know, various degrees of that between now and then. So in the lower end, of course, the upper end is Avengers and you know, the big distributors and stuff like that. And so it has become a slide in the middle, but that's for all distributors, right?
Okay, gotcha. Well, see, now I know I learned something today. That feels so good. But no, I feel like there's a boardroom somewhere where people are like, "Hey, can you guys find a movie that has no plot and it's really boring and it's like and it's really pretty looking, but it doesn't have any point?" And I'm like, "Oh yes, I got the one right here. It's called Stowaway."
It was so boring. It was almost Swedish.
It was worse than Swedish. At least Swedish has like this horrible dread of death usually. Like when you're watching a Swedish movie, you know something horrible is going to happen.
This had dread of death that was just being passed from one person to the other.
The dread of death was probably the assistant director wishing he was working on something else. I don't know. I thought it started off really interesting, and it looked pretty, and it just kind of like, okay, it's kind of exciting. You know, they found a stowaway. What's going to happen? Is he up to something nefarious? What's going on here? And then nothing happens, and okay, well.
Yeah, I know. It's sort of petered out with a yeah, and you know, I mean, what happened? I forgot what happened that he was on there. Was he caught or he just went to sleep? It's long hours. You know, it's the long hours.
He survived this horrible, like, he survived all that bouncing around, and he wasn't even strapped in or anything. That's kind of suspicious, but what a lucky guy. Or was he?
When they found him, he kind of like spilled out with a bunch of hoses and stuff. And I when they found him, and there was kind of like this hose wrap thing going on around him, and I thought that is the worst prop thing ever. Is like, oh well, yeah, let's make this shot more interesting. I'll wrap all the hoses I have in the back of my truck around him. What do you think?
Oh, and they took this big part away from the ship, and there's this big hole that's like the size of a manhole, and there's no vacuum, like no sucky. I mean, what was really like? Wouldn't that kind of suck them out?
Sucky, yeah. No, it was there.
And then also the physics of they were climbing up those poles, and like this little 100-pound girl outdoes this guy that's like 150 pounds. Really?
Right. That was the whole pole thing was like. Well, maybe she was a pole dancer. You don't know.
She's better at the pole than the Asian man was. Well, he was a botanist? Right? I mean, a botanist. I guess you wouldn't expect a botanist to be climbing a pole as well as a doctor.
Well,
I don't even know if that makes any sense, but But
know
no
what?
sucky sucky was where I lost hope in this movie.
I got to tell you something. You know, whatever you have going on behind you there is much more interesting than anything in this film.
Yes, Voyage of Prehistoric Women. Go watch it. I haven't seen it, but it's behind me.
It's in the list.
It's a lot more interesting than
It's on my
Stowaway.
list, yeah. No, I mean, I didn't. Like I
And
don't
the Stowaway,
I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. I keep forgetting.
well, they get the
about
Stowaway. The Stowaway comes on the ship, and they're like, "Okay, is he up to something? Maybe we'll have a little private meeting." So they'd have but then like, "Oh, let's immediately show him all the safety protocols and all the things he can fuck up on the ship." It's like, okay, I don't know.
There were a couple of times where let's have a private meeting, and they literally just turn him
Like 5 feet
around.
away.
I was like, wow, you do know that absolutely only works on film. You know, it's only like it's like, oh, wait, I want to have a personal meeting, okay? It's
Right.
like you turn the camera that much.
Different background.
And all of a sudden, it's just the two of us. Okay, wait. I'm going to rate this thing.
Please do.
What are we talking about? Oh, no, that's right. That's film. Oh,
Well,
okay.
here, let me describe the film to you. Let me reenact the film. Here's what it was. Oh wait, let's see. That's the best scene out of the whole movie.
Okay, now I remember. Point 2.
I give it a 1
Yeah, it's
because it was pretty, and I did like the window, like you said. But I also liked. I mean, what's her name? Kendrick. I can't remember her first name. Anyway, I thought they were all decent actors, and it was actually good.
no,
They just had
yeah,
nothing to work with. They had no dialogue. They had no script.
Absolutely no. You know, even if you had dialogue, that would mean that you were dressed up and had no place to go. So
I think that what they should have done is gotten these people together and said, "Okay, you guys were all great actors. Just make something up."
let's make oh, you guys are so good that we're gonna just have you make another movie and not this one.
Right. Well, here's a general plot. Go.
Yes, go. do something.
That would have been a lot better.
Move every once in a while.
Like a Spinal Tap, but
Exactly.
serious Spinal Tap.
So, is this done?
Yeah, I think we've already. Yeah, we've been this one. Actually, we've avoided reviewing this one. We've talked about everything else. That's how bad it was.
Well, that was pretty bad. Yes.
We
Exactly.
always get good stories though when you don't like something or I don't like it,
You know what?
or especially we don't. Both of us don't like it.
Both of us don't like it. Then we're golden.
I think I'm subconsciously trying to get you to tell stories when
Is that what it is?